why light sparring is dangerous. Hey guys, Coach Keith Keppner here. I'm going to tell you in this video why light sparring can be very dangerous and how I've seen it be dangerous. And no, this is not just a clickbaity title. This is actually the context of this or contents of this video. Why should you listen to me? I've been a professional amateur boxing coach for 15 plus years. I boxed in the United States and in Mexico. I was mentored as a coach and as a fighter by my father, Doc Keppner, who was a professional boxing coach for multiple decades, and he was mentored as a coach and as a fighter by Chuck Bodak. And Bodak worked with over 50 world champions, including he was the Olympic coach for Muhammad Ali. Let's get into why light sparring is dangerous. Also, if you want to work with me, click on the Patreon page. There should be a link below. You can jump on the custom elite level program, work with plenty of people, take them from any level where they are, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and get them to the next level. Also, I do the same thing with people that want to take their passion and turn it into profession with being a boxing coach and do what I've done for many years now, basically 10 plus years, support a whole family off of being a professional boxing coach and making a great living from it and getting to affect, positively impact tons of people. All right. The first point, there's going to be four, guys. The first one, it is a great example with one of my boxers. They went to nationals multiple times, pretty accomplished amateur. And I remember when they got, it was about probably 2016, they got dropped in the gym. Sparring, they're going hard against another good fighter, and they got dropped. And I remember the first thing they said to me when they came back to the corner, take a little breather. We might have gotten maybe a round or two in after that, but we might have just paced it out after that, maybe called it quits. It was kind of just a flash knockdown from a headshot. And they said to me immediately, well, you know what? Because I was concerned about how they were going to react emotionally. They were a fairly emotional person, and so I was concerned. I wasn't exactly sure how they were going to react because it was the first time that ever happened. And they said immediately when they came back to the corner to me, well, I'm really happy that happened in sparring. And you know what? That never happened in any of their fights. They had many fights. Never did they get dropped. I don't think they even ever got a standing 8 count or anything like that in a fight. It happened in sparring because they were sparring against someone very, very, very good, someone that was a little bit bigger, and they were going hard. And yes, ideally we don't want to get dropped. We don't want that to ever happen. That's not the goal of boxing. The goal is for that to not happen. But if that does happen, let's have it happen in the gym and not have it happen in the fight. And just because it happened in the gym. Now, again, if it's happening repeatedly in the gym, that's a problem, all right? A multi-level problem. The biggest level is that you, one, need to work on your defense, but two, need to take some time off of sparring. You might be sparring hard too often, then at that point, another topic. But that is how we properly prepare. Not by getting dropped in the gym, but by going hard enough to mimic the situations of a fight. You don't know if you're in shape for a fight, especially the less experienced you are, unless you spar hard. You can spar for 5 rounds easy and then not be able to fight 3 rounds because you're sparring easy, all right? And then when you go to fight, you can't fight 3 rounds hard. But if you know how to fight 3 rounds hard in the gym, it's actually still going to be harder in an actual fight just because of nerves and knowing that you only got one opportunity to get it right. There's no redos, no second tries, no, hey, let's get after it again tomorrow. There's none of that. It's one and done, right? You might get a rematch, right? A week or 2 weeks later, maybe, but it's one or done. If it's a tournament, it's one or done. You have till next year to get it right, or maybe never to get it right if you had to go through multiple qualifying tournaments to get there. Or as a professional fighter, of course, now you don't have that O anymore on your record. Now it's gone, or now you've added to that other side of the record that we don't want to add to, if we can do anything to help it. Go into deep water in sparring. That is where you're going to build up the mental fortitude, the ability to think under pressure. You're not going to develop that as well if you don't do that. All right, so the first point is you have to prepare harder than you fight. And I say it's conditional because it is situational to your level. Yes, if you've been in a lot of hard fights and you have a ton of fights under your belt, fights. I'm not saying you're a boxing fan, you've watched a lot of boxing and you've watched a lot of hard boxing fights. Or you've sparred a little bit or whatever the hell. You've sparred for a couple of years. Oh, yeah, I know all of it. No. If you've had 10 years in the game and you got 20 pro fights, yeah, maybe you don't. Maybe. But there's a lot of coaches out there who disagree with me really hard on that comment. And I can absolutely see the importance of still getting that hard experience. All right. Now it's titrated. I'll talk about that as we go later. But again, you have to go into the deep water. You have to know what the deep water feels like. And you can't only do that in fights because they're few and far between. That's how you grow as a fighter. And the guys that do that grow and get to the higher levels. The guys that don't, you get stuck. And you'll blame everything else except the one reason, which is you didn't do the work. All right. Then number 2. What I have seen is, I think about this one guy in the gym. This was a while back as well, where he was always avoiding. He had a fight coming up, but it wasn't under us. It wasn't under my gym. It wasn't, under my coaches or anything else like that. He was just visiting, and he was using our gym to train. I let him do that. Normally we don't let people do that, but he was a nice enough guy. And he had a fight that was coming up, and he was in our area for a while, preparing for it before he had that fight that was out of town from there. And he first time he sparred, he was complaining, oh, you guys are going too hard. And it was with guys that were around his level, and the guys were around his size. And, oh, too hard. It's too hard. Always complaining. And then he would always spar with this other guy that was became his buddy, and they would just play. Light spar. They would light spar, right? Which is playing. Now, of course, you can be more conscious with your sparring. It doesn't have to be quite playful, but if you ask them what they're doing, they said they're light sparring. Light spar, did that. Stopped doing any of the sparring with other people that were his level that could have got him ready. And then what happened in his fight? I saw the video of it. He got overwhelmed. He went against a tough Latino fighter that tore into him and just went after him balls to the wall. And you could see him crumble and fall apart because he didn't get used to the actual pressure and the feeling that you can feel when getting overwhelmed. And this is what I've seen happen time and time again. It wasn't just this guy. I've seen it happen with other guys that don't train in my gym or whatever, where they are always going easy in their sparring. And then when they go into their fight, they get crushed. Because they're not used to what it feels like, and they build up false confidence. This is very dangerous if you're just getting into boxing. If you're getting ready for your first fight, you don't know what you're getting into. And if you do enough hard sparring, then you have an idea of what you're getting into. It's still going to be a level up from that, but you have an idea of what you're getting into. Guys will do things in fights they won't do in sparring because they're desperate to win. They want to win, and there's no winner or loser in sparring, right? You can always take a break, do it again, anything else. You will build up false confidence in the gym by always sparring easy and by not sparring hard enough and doing it enough of the time. Point number 3. I remember with myself, my father being my boxing coach, old school boxing coach. Of course, his coach, Chuck Bodak, old school boxing coach. My dad boxed in the CYO gym, like I've mentioned in other videos, up in Chicago with Chuck Bodak and Tony Zale, 2-time middleweight world champion. Those were the 2 coaches there. And Tony would sometimes spar with the kids. And Tony was a middleweight champion. And if a switch flipped on Tony, he would knock you out. Didn't matter if you're a kid, whoever. He just had that edge about him. And that's one of the reasons he was a champion. Now, am I saying that every champion's like that and everyone has to be like that? No, I'm not saying that. But that is something that is common, that is there. You see it there was some clip I saw with Sugar Ray Leonard sparring against some guy, and the guy caught him, and Sugar Ray dropped him, whatever. This is the thing. When you're a champion, when you're at that level, you have an edge about you most of the time. Most guys do. Not 100%, but 90% do. Maybe 98%. Anyway, in sparring, what I noticed, because every time I sparred, it was hard. What I noticed is that if I would try to spar light with somebody that was a light sparrer, my timing was off my ability to do certain moves was off versus if I went full speed and full power, it was back. Because there's certain things that work when you spar hard or when you box hard. There's certain things that when you do those things won't work if you do it lightly, right? If I do, let's say, a hard jab, right? My hardest jab, that's going to now get you to overreact to that jab. Now, when I feint that jab, it's going to allow me to land a left hook. One of my classic things I would do all the time. If we're light sparring, I do a jab, and then I feint the jab, you're not going to overreact to it. And then I'm not going to get my hook the same way, right? Even if the hook I'm trying to land is not hard, right? But if I didn't do a hard jab, then it's not going to set it up the same way. It's not going to create the same opening. Now, of course, if I do a hard jab and you don't catch it, I thought you would catch it. Then now I'm not light sparring anymore. I'm blasting you in the face. And it's like, Keith, what are you doing? You're not easy light sparring. All right. So all these things, you throw hard body shots. It's going to tire someone out throughout the rounds. That's a strategy. It's a strategy to learn and to use in the gym, in the ring, against people that are your own level and around your own size, or people that can hang. And this is how they get better. It's how you get better. So there's a lot of things that you will not be able to work on if you don't spar hard. So stuff works at light that doesn't work hard, and stuff works hard that doesn't work at light. I have seen guys optimize that spar light a lot for light sparring. There are things you can do technically that will work if your opponent is throwing lightly and you are throwing lightly. I'm not saying completely feather-fisted either. I'm saying like 50%. 60%. If you're always like right in that 50 range, 40, 50, 60, and you never go up to the 75s and up to the 80s and the 90s and the 95s up there to the hundreds, then there are certain things you can do. You can just kind of earmuff up, lay your hands, rest them on your face. You're not going to get bashed around. But if someone's throwing hard at you, you're going to get bashed around. A lot of things that will work at light, and I've seen people optimize for light, and then they go hard. They're not used to it. How you resist the punch, right? Touching on that. If you're used to catching lighter jabs, 50% power jabs, and then someone blasts 100% jab on you, you're gonna smack yourself in the face with your own hand because you don't know how to resist it. Same thing goes with blocking or anything else like that, or even not getting knocked around by punches. Very important. All right, moving on to number 4. Before we get to number 4, guys, again, if you want to work with me, level up your game, no matter where you are at. Complete beginner, you never boxed before in your life. I've taken people just like you to the next level and to elite levels. If you're at that medium level, you need to get to that next stage. Here to help. Click on the Patreon page. Join that elite level program. Also, jump on Instagram, message me there. Same thing if you want to take you as a boxing coach and you want to make a livelihood out of it. I know the exact next step you need to take because I've opened up multiple gyms across the Southeast and done that for years. And I've opened up gyms that before they're opened have 75 members and then go on to have 400 plus. All right. Now, the 4th point. This is where we need to know how to tack back. All right. So I just went through 3 points on why sparring light is dangerous and why sparring hard is important, but we also need to know how to tack back. Right. That is my last one right here. Now, I have talked to fighters. I've talked to coaches. Specifically, it's a little bit more with the pro fighters, but same with the amateurs too, where it's the guy says to me, yeah, I've been sparring every day this week. And I know they spar hard. I know it's hard every time. And yeah, because I'm fighting this weekend, so I got to spar every day hard this week. That's what coach got me doing. Look, you're a coach. Do whatever you want to do with your people. You're a fighter. Choose to be with that coach. All right. That's your choice. In my opinion, it's not a good way to go about it. That's going to lead you to a little bit more burnt out in your fight than needed. I'd much rather have a slightly undertrained fighter than a slightly overtrained fighter, a slightly less damaged fighter than a slightly more damaged fighter. Now, granted, I used to be very hard and heavy about not sparring hard closer than a week to your fight. I have broken that rule from time to time with guys that I know can be intelligently defensive in their sparring sessions, guys that don't get cracked. Again, as you go up levels in boxing, you don't get cracked as clean. You don't get hit as hard by hard punches because you know how to avoid them, how to deflect them. Of course, when you're more of a beginner, that's different. So generally, about a week out. Closest is maybe a few days, but you want to try to have a week between any type of hard sparring session. Allows you time to adapt, assuming your health is good and everything else. The immune system is what heals the brain. So if that is damaged or affected by a lot of stress, a lot of strain on your body, then you might need more time. And if you're really newer to boxing, then, and maybe not in the best of shape, more time as well. And that's also why it's so important to be in good shape for boxing, not only so you can perform, not only so you can take less damage when you spar, but also so you can recover. The more in shape you are, the better your body recovers from even traumatic, not traumatic, but concussive type blows to your body and to your head. Oftentimes, people will act like body shots, like your body's not a part of you, and that, headshots, oh, that's dangerous to get hit in your head. But dude, yeah, pound my body all day. It just toughens me up. Man, there's somebody with the company that I'm partnered with that, may he rest in peace, passed away because his intestine got ruptured. This wasn't from sparring, but it was essentially from like a food poisoning situation. And he went septic and he died. Stuff like that can happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen to you, but it can happen like that if you're letting people cream into your body. If you let people, your rib gets broke, that jams into you and whatnot. There's freak stuff that can happen. You don't want that to happen. Famously, Houdini died from a body shot because he would do a thing where he'd have people punch him in his stomach as hard as they can, and the guy punched him before he had a chance to brace for it. That's at least the story that I've heard, and that led to some type of complication and him dying from it. Very important to be in good shape. Very important to allow yourself time to recover between hard sparring, particularly if you're getting hit. Now, I've had plenty of people, maybe you're one of these people, or maybe you'll get to this level where you spar hard and you don't get hit clean much at all. Hey, it's like one of my higher level fighters I'm working with right now. They had a hard sparring session last Wednesday, and they maybe got hit one time, and it wasn't super clean, maybe twice, and it wasn't super clean, and they're fine. Totally fine. So they could spar hard not that long after that at all, no problem. But someone else that got ripped and rattled a bunch, yeah, let's get more time to rest. All right, guys, this wraps it up for this video. If you enjoy this, make sure you click like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Please reserve, though. I don't care if you've done martial arts and whatever. No offense to you guys. I love all you guys, right? Respect for everyone in the community. But if you're going to comment about it, only comment it if you actually are a higher level boxer. All right? Unless you're a higher level boxer and or a higher level boxing coach, then comment on what you think. And if you're not that, that's okay. No worries. You can still jump in, but please don't state your opinion of something you read somewhere, right? Or if you do, make it very clear, like, hey, I read something somewhere, right? But too often on the internet, people will state all this stuff like it's complete stuff that they know from experience. And it's one thing to know information. It's another thing to have wisdom and to have experience with it, right? Knowledge with wisdom, experience with some type of intellect. My intellect isn't that big, but some type of intellect. That's what is valuable, not just theoretical. Oh, I read 50 blog posts about it. I read all these articles about it. Yeah, those are all can be helpful and they can be informative. But then you also have to look at what it looks like. Example, every single great champion that you look up to, every single one. And again, I'm not talking about other things. I'm talking about boxing. And every person that got up to a high level, any high level combat sport, did hard sparring at least for a period of time, for a long period of time. Anyway, this gentleman right here, all these guys, they spar way harder than what you think is light sparring. All right, anyway, that's my soapbox. I'll get off of it. If you want to work with me, jump on the Patreon, click on the Custom Elite Level program. Happy to help you get to the next level. Same thing if you want to message me on Instagram under Coach Keith Keppner. I'll be there, and see you on the other side, and check out the next video, guys.